every day to the world and to your heart. Open up your eyes and let your spirit start. Say yes to the dreams you hold inside. Let your soul be your guide.
Are you feeling stuck with outdated mortgage processes? Tired of the endless wait times and manual errors? Well, please meet Clear Closer, the game changer for mortgage pros. Clear Closer takes the hassle out of loan origination, secondary market trading, and securitization with cutting edge digital tools. Picture this: real time data and valuations right at your fingertips, all managed by their smart AI underwriter. No more hurry up and wait when submitting closing conditions. AI handles it all instantly. Upgrade your workflow, ditch the delays, and get ahead with Clear Closer. Check us out at clearcloser.com. Thank you for joining us today for another episode of Wednesday Wisdom. Today, we are joined by the incredible Andrew Dort. He is the broker owner of Pride Lending. Now, I also want to add on to that Andrew and I met because we serve on the NAM DE&I committee, and we had the joy of sharing some time on a panel in Washington, D.C. in April. And you know what? I know we've had a couple of people on here from that particular panel, but the reason why I wanted to bring them on is because my heart and my mind was so expanded and opened from listening to the personal journeys and insights of each of these individuals. And I truly believe that we all have a mission in our lives to make sure that everyone can share their voice and their journeys and their insights, because that's what brings all of us closer together to understand each other. So Andrew certainly made a positive impact on me, and I want to make sure that I share him with all of you in the audience. So Andrew, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh,
And as we kick this off on Wednesday Wisdom, one of the things that we love to know is, share with us, what is one of the best pieces of advice or something that you learned in your life? And if it was from an individual, please feel free to give them a shout out.
yeah. Well, thank you, Laura. There's someone I used to work with. I had the pleasure of working with them as a colleague, and they've since gone on to become a very successful sales coach named Amy Resnick. She owns sales and presence. She's a really strong, powerful woman, much like yourself. And she always taught selling through authenticity. And so some of her programs even are stop selling to start selling, where you're not really, the sales will come if you're just being authentic to yourself. And that sort of hammering home the point of authenticity is something that I've seen kind of be the bedrock of my entire professional career, but then also, while learned a bit later in life, the bedrock of my personal life as well. And I think that would be the number one thing that really has stuck out with me.
You know, it's so fascinating that, a few years ago, that word authenticity or being authentic almost became passe of a word that everybody was saying, oh, just be authentic. But it really is not passe. It really is something that we all need to be. And it's interesting. I was just writing a social post that I'm going to post next week somewhere that I know personally myself, and I bet you can probably piggyback off of this, that I know early in my career, I was not my authentic self. I actually was trying to mirror, in my case, I was trying to mirror all the men that I was sitting around that conference room table with at an executive level. And I said, well, I can't look like a woman. I can't speak like a woman. I can't make decisions from the heart because they'll say I'm emotional. Now, some of this was in my head. It's not that anybody told me this. This was just me thinking this.
Sure.
And then someone said something to me, and this is what I'm going to post next week. Someone told me they saw me. And it's so weird that what a simple thing to say. But it was like that person gave me permission to actually be my authentic self. So
Absolutely.
I understand that authenticness where this is what you've got. This is Laura Brandao. You're not putting her back in the box. I'm out and I'm as energetic as I'm always going to be. And Andrew, I want to kind of go down that road because of course I'm sure you can relate to some of the stuff that I just said.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that you may you may be discrediting your own strength even in what you said, because yes, it might be in your head, but there's these systems in place that make us feel that way because power doesn't want to change. And so while a lot of it does rest internally, we internalize that. There is external pressure there too, and you've had to overcome that. I've had to overcome that. I think most people have in their own various way. But yeah, for me, it was not conforming to, was raised in a relatively religious household and not conforming to a set expectation of my life. And even going back a step further, authenticity, I think, really starts with yourself first, more than with others. And it took me a long time to be authentic with who I was, to find out who I truly was. And I was lying to myself, and that carries over into your professional life. And once you kind of break free of that and you're honest with yourself, it becomes a whole lot easier to, like you said, you're out, you're here, you're in the community as who you are, your real self, and people respond to that. I think that's very evident not only in people like yourself, your success, my success, but I'm seeing it very, very much more with Gen Z too. They respond incredibly. They have a very strong BS detector.
They can smell it, right? They
Yeah.
can see it, they can smell it, they can see it a mile away, right?
Yes.
If you're not being authentic. That is for sure. Yes.
Absolutely.
Andrew, you said something so profound. I mean, extremely profound when you say that it starts with us, which I completely agree with you. I mean, I think unfortunately there's people that never realize it their whole life. They haven't come to grips. And I'm kind of curious, like, what things help with that? Like how do you even go through that process? Because like for me, it happened much later in my life, but in your case, like it happened younger in your life. Like I'm curious, like how do you kind of go through that process?
Well, a lot of it is being vulnerable. I'll say that, which is something that, especially, in our society, men are not supposed to be vulnerable, or at least that's the old way of thinking. And it does take a lot of inner strength to be vulnerable. And I don't think people make that connection very often. But it also has to do with representation, seeing people in your life that are who you are in a sense where you find your tribe and you see them being successful, and you see them, you're an inspiration to a lot of women in this industry, and that breaking that kind of glass ceiling allows people to follow in your footsteps, in that vein of your path. And I think that helped too. So for me personally, my journey kind of self-discovery came when I left Kansas and moved to Colorado. And not to get political or anything, but it was a bit more of a progressive purple state. And
Sure.
I found my tribe, and finding my tribe or my chosen family, it was very easy to see, this is who I am.
I think that's a very good point of when you feel you're in the right place, people that understand you and see you for who you are, then you do start to feel more comfortable to be yourself. So I think that's a great recommendation, because you can feel when you're out of alignment, right? Like you can feel when it's not rubbing the right way, right? And you can always get through it. We can certainly make do. But
Sure.
when you are in that right tribe, when you're in that right place where people are just accepting of the good, the bad, and the indifferent of you, and that was a really, really great recommendation. Okay, so I love that advice. Fantastic. I love this topic. We're going in a great direction. So what are some of the ways that learning to be authentic and finding that tribe, and another point when you were saying about, people, I always say people are always watching, whether it's your children, whether it's your community, whether it's your colleagues, your team members, your industry, your referral partners, your prospective borrowers, right? That people that you may do business with in the future, people are always watching, right? And with that, people are inspired. And someone said to me years ago, you can't be what you can't be what you don't see. And Andrew, you and I, we've had numerous conversations now about how I see you as this beacon of light, where people are watching and people are paying attention to your journey and kind of saying, well, I'm gonna keep watching and see what happens over there, right? Like if he keeps on that path and he's succeeding, well, then that kind of gives me the, okay, I can inch out and I can move in that direction, right? And you're doing it. And we certainly are here to celebrate and congratulate you and support you in all of that. But how are you taking that advice and now applying it on this new chapter of your life? I mean, you've taken on some very big things during a time that our industry is, going through a lot of metamorphosis itself.
Yeah. Well, I think that it's the responsibility of those of us who can take certain, I don't want to say risks, but maybe challenges is a better word. And those of us who can have a duty to do for those who can't. And so
that was good. That was good, Andrew.
Yeah, I think I really think I am, as you know, I'm a member of the queer community, but I am still a cis homosexual white male. I have a tremendous amount of privilege, and I acknowledge that. And it's our duty to lift up the people with less privilege than us. And it's something that it can't just come in, taking a DEI class and forgetting about it. It has to come in tangible actions by promoting people who aren't at the table to have a place at the table, to listen to their stories, like we did in Washington, D.C. at that panel that you so expertly moderated. It's important that taking those challenges, taking them head on for those behind us that can't, and kind of leading the way if we're called upon to do that. Yeah,
that my goodness, what you just said literally is like a mic drop, because it really is true. And I kind of felt that same thing when I first started being viewed as a voice for women leaders. When it first happened, I literally said, why would anyone listen to me? Like, I don't have anything different to say. And then I realized that because I had gone up through the ranks, people said, well, heck, if she was able to accomplish that in business, she must be someone that we should listen to. And I thought to myself, well, none of this is about me. This is all about the other people that are behind me and to the side of me that I can pull forward and I can lift up, and I can give them a platform, and I can put them on stages, and I can put them on podcasts, and I can support them in social media, and I can tell other people, you need to pay attention to these people, because it became part of my responsibility. And that is a gift we have been given. And when you're given that gift, it's not about you. It's actually about what you can do as a whole. And that's when you feel fulfilled. That's the fulfillment.
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Wow. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, Andrew, this was a great discussion. The way we always love to wrap it up is I want to hear your piece of advice. What would you like to share with the audience that you want them to leave with and kind of get that advice from you?
One thing that I've been trying to be very intentional about is assuming people are coming from a good place. And that challenges a lot of, especially in this highly polarized environment we find ourselves in politically as a country. If you assume that they're operating in good faith, then you can have a connection there, even if you disagree, even if you see the world differently. And if you give them that grace to express what they're trying to tell you in their own way, you can sometimes uncover that what they're saying is actually coming from something deeper, and perhaps that's what they really are passionate about. And there's a lot more human connection than I think we oftentimes see in these, again, these camps that we kind of get forced into, whether we choose to or not. And that's what I would probably say, assume people come from a place of trying to do what's right. And if you do, you're more likely to reach some sort of agreement and bring the temperature down. And that could be true too of business. When you meet someone, don't prejudge them, and try and see them for who they are, where they're coming from. You don't know their lived experience. And so, yeah, that's something that I've been trying to very much work on myself. And I think that it's helped me be a much happier person.
I love that. I think that is beautiful advice that can be applied to every part of our lives, personally, professionally, as a human. I think over the years, I think we've all become defensive, where we've kind of put our guard up because we're unsure of where people are coming from. But you're right, if it's almost where our guard is down until it needs to be up, it's a totally different approach.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Got to be vulnerable.
That's exactly right. That's the word, authentic and vulnerable. Those are our two takeaways. Andrew, thank you so much for sharing all of your insights and just for being you. Keep shining brightly, and we wish you all the best always.
Thank you so much.